Welcome to Divorce Talk with Nicola Beer, a show dedicated to creating change and emotional healing for executives, professionals, and expats in the various stages of marriage breakdown and divorce. Discover insightful strategies to better manage your personal affairs and learn secrets to creating more happiness, love, and success in your life today.
Hi and welcome. This is Nicola Beer and you're listening to Divorce Talk. And today's topic is about, do teenagers need support or space? When it comes to teenagers and divorce, many parents become confused over what to do and what not to do. They wonder if teenagers should be given space to process a divorce, or whether they need to make sure that they're with them and they're opening up and they're spending family time. Parents come to me concerned about angry outbursts, about poor school performance, about sadness, hostility, a lack of interest in family life. And they can find it difficult to know whether to force their children to spend more time with them, or whether they simply need to just allow them space and allow them to be with their friends. And so this can be a challenge. So one of the things that I really wanted to make clear in this episode is some warning signs that you can look out for so that you can be sure to know whether your teenager is displaying just normal teenage behaviour or whether there are some things that you really need to look out for, some things that you really need to know, okay, they need further support here. So I hope that you find this useful. I'll just talk about a lady I worked with who really was unsure and stuck exactly with this challenge. She had her two children, 14 and 16, in her custody until about 5 months ago. And then she decided, because she'd fallen in love and she was getting remarried 3 years after, that where they needed to be for her new partner's work, they couldn't live in the same town. So she asked the children, would you like to move with me? Or would you like to stay in your school and your sports clubs and live with your father? And so they agreed that they would live with the father. And so 5 months later, she was deeply upset, in absolute agony, because her children no longer wanted to stay weekends with her, and they had an agreement that they would spend every other weekend with her. And so she was just feeling lost, and she didn't know whether to just give up and say, okay, I won't see my 14-year-old and my 16-year-old on the weekends, and we'll just keep to our Tuesday night once a week, and is that what I do? She just felt like they were drifting further and further away, and she said she'd never felt such pain. And so it was really important for us to work out, okay, what is teenage normal behaviour and what is different, and really speak to her teenagers. What's the reasons behind this? Why don't they want to stay with her? What's the issue? So I'll explain what happened with her and her situation at the end of this. One thing she was really also challenged with is she was just convinced her ex was bad-mouthing her, and she didn't know whether there was anything to do, whether she should have an argument with him, whether she should attack him for bad-mouthing her, because she just couldn't understand why her children had a sudden change of heart. So let's look at the 3 warning signs. Well, the 3 warning signs are turning inward, turning outward, and feeling guilty or guilt. And this is exactly what is really important, because in order to know whether to help your children or not, you need to understand 3 things. The warning signs, which are those 3, which I'll go into more detail in just a moment. Understanding about the losses that divorce brings, and also understanding what is typical teenage development. So teenage typical development is understanding that as children get older, the more and more time they want to spend with their friends, the less and less time they want to spend with their parents. As teenagers grow up, they also may challenge you, may test your boundaries, and that's because they're forming their own personalities. And so they're seeing whether you're going to stick to your ground or whether you're not. So they can be very testing and trying. And they're also going through a lot of body changes and chemical changes, so it can make them extra sensitive. So that being said, what are the warning signs? Well, turning inward. So turning inward is really depression, extreme sadness, isolation, withdrawal, guilt, self-blame, or changing in eating patterns. And this can be very common when teenagers go through their parents' divorce. They may decide that they're not going to eat. They may want to then eat alone. They may become fussy to get attention. They may overeat. Depression is really, when they're just not happy at all, when they're really, really sad. I was working with a teenager yesterday who was feeling so sad that her dad was now living on his own. And later, as we were having our session, I realised that actually she was really sad because she hates being on her own herself. And so she had a lot of anxiety about being on her own. She doesn't like being left in the house alone, even if it's 10 minutes. She was 13. And so she really felt that her dad was going to be as sad as she was on her own. And then when we looked at it, we were saying, well, look, because you're sad on your own doesn't mean your dad's going to be sad on his own, because he works a lot on his own and he's travelled a lot on his own. So maybe he's okay. And that was a big eye-opener for her. Also, we went through techniques to understand that you can't ever help someone else by trying to change how they feel, because if your dad is sad, then you can't help him be sad, and if you're sad, your mum or your dad can't help you. So it was really about how we control our own emotions and what we can do to help ourselves heal the sadness and help ourselves deal with the sadness in order to feel better. So turning outward is where, as you probably can imagine, the feelings go out at other people, at life, at objects. So this is aggression, this is angry outbursts, this is bullying others, this is rebelling, this is refusal to participate in school, in sports, in family activities or other activities. So if you're noticing that there's a lot of aggression there, there's a lot of difficulty, then this is something to really look out for. Because, what I say with teenagers is that anger is a natural and normal emotion. It's not bad in itself. And so it's not a problem to feel angry, but it's the way that it's expressed that causes the difficulty. So there you're looking at giving them a choice for channeling their anger. So for some, that can be playing sports, can be running, martial arts, art therapy, talking, expressing anger can be really, really powerful, because if we allow it to be repressed, then we can feel ill, we can get consumed by it. And it's so, and also sharing the thoughts, because if we don't share our thoughts, then they can just go round and round in our heads, which can also be really difficult to deal with. And the last warning sign is really the guilt. Does your child feel so guilty that they can't leave a parent, that they are concerned about their parent all the time, that they're feeling bad that they've perhaps done something wrong to cause the divorce? So many times have I heard children say that, if they were better, could they stay together? If I do my homework, if I tidy my room more, can Daddy come back to live? These kind of things. And clearly they're carrying some guilt. They're thinking that relationship ending is because of their pressure or their financial burden. And so children pick up on things from arguments that are said, from discussions that happen, and they start to think it's about them. Teenagers also do this. They can also feel really responsible that they need to make their parents happy, that they need to look after their mum and take on the responsibility of looking after the household. So whether it's a daughter or a son, quite often they can take on this responsibility and the guilt burden. So it's really careful to watch out for that. Because I had a client the other day who his children, he wanted to spend some more time with them. He'd just moved out of the family home, and his children said that they couldn't come and see him because they were too worried about leaving their mum on her own. So the solution that we came up with was, well, he was going to take it in turns, and he would see one child one night and one child the other night. So it's really about looking at solutions, helping children to express how they're feeling, because once they start expressing how they're feeling, then you can help them. If you don't help them express, or if they can't express to you, then maybe ask a family friend or a coach to work with them so that they can just get these thoughts out of their heads. If not, they can play these thoughts around in their head and get really stressed or really angry, say hurtful things, do hurtful things to themselves or to others. So let me talk about Claire. After sharing all of the teenage typical development with her, using science and books about that, we then looked at these warning signs, and she thought, right, okay, it's time for me to speak to my teenagers in a loving way and just find out what really is going on. And so she said to them, what is really going on here? Why? And this was each separately. Why don't you want to stay the weekend? Her son said that actually it was just because he was interested in a new girl and he liked being at the skate park. And it was nothing personal against his mum, but if he goes and stays with his mum, then he can't go to the skate park all weekend. And he can't see his friends, and he just really wanted to hang out with his friends. And so by doing that, and him sharing that, his mum then decided that she would then drive him to the skate park, and so that he could stay at least one night and half the next day, and so that he started seeing her on the weekends that they scheduled. So that was really positive. And it was just about understanding that it's not that her ex has been bad-mouthing her, it's just that her son is interested in a girl and likes hanging out at the skate park. Then she spoke to her daughter. Her daughter just felt that she couldn't leave her dad. Her older brother was out all the time, and so it was always dad alone in the house and her. And so she felt that if she went and spent time a weekend with her mother, then her dad would be completely on his own the whole weekend. And it makes her sad to feel that her dad's on his own. It makes her really sad, and she hates being on her own. And so she just couldn't imagine the thought of just leaving someone to be on their own. So she didn't feel that he was strong enough, whereas she thought because her mum had remarried, then her mum was fine and didn't need her as much. And so when her father heard this, he explained to her that he loves his own company and that he loves her, and so he's happy for her to go and enjoy herself, and that he would also make an effort to do some more things, to be more active, to have his friends over or see his friends more, so that she didn't need to worry about him. So it's really important to understand what's going on in our children's lives. What are they really feeling? What are they really thinking? What thought patterns do they have? And allow them to express it so that we can deal with it and help them move forward. This is a real passion of mine because I was 13 when my parents first split up and my dad moved into the dining room, and I remember thinking, this is really weird. Why is dad living downstairs? Why is dad's wardrobe downstairs? And nothing really was said. And so anxieties were really high. And then the anger was high as well, but I didn't know how to express it, so I just kept it in and ended up getting ill. And so we really want to encourage our children to know that they're safe to say whatever they want, and it doesn't matter what they feel. They're allowed to feel angry, they're allowed to feel sad, and we can just love them for that and help them deal with that and give them coping mechanisms. So for anger, this could be sports works really well for children. Sometimes even video games can also work really well. Just doing something that engages their mind and just helps them have a healthy outlet. Well, I hope that this has been useful to you. I do have a free ebook on my website, which is Protect Children Through Divorce, and you can get that at www.purepeacecoaching.com. So thank you very much for listening. From my heart to yours, have an amazing week ahead.
thank you for listening to Divorce Talk with Nicola Beer. If you have enjoyed the program, please leave a rating and review on iTunes so more people dealing with marriage breakdown and divorce get the support they need. If you want more great free resources, such as Secrets to a Happier Relationship, Moving on Fast After Divorce, or tips on parenting through divorce, be sure to visit www.purepeacecoaching.com today.